Welcome to tonight's episode of Weekly Comic Book Movies with myself, ZodWriter, and Ashley the Widow. How are you, Ashley?
I'm good. How are you? How are you?
Really, really good. Always happy to be here. This is going to be a fun discussion um, tonight. On our third episode, we are going to be talking about Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. And right off the bat, we have the Snyder fan 99 in the chat saying that Begins is a good movie. We've got Showcaz here. What's up, Showcaz? Saying what's up to Zod and peace to the widow.
Hi.
We've got Batman 530 in here saying time for another great show. I don't know, Batman. I really hope that Sharon Peters shows up. She's always got funny stuff to say in the chat, so that'd be fun. And then we've got Sickness in here, Brother Zod and Ashley, and we've got that dude Vince. Hey all, it's so good for all of you guys to show up tonight. This is awesome, and we got Tony Robinson in the
Hey.
chat saying what's up. Yeah, this is great. We got Skywalker the Jedi. As always, Skywalker, you are doing a great job on your channel. I gotta say, you are awesome. Always speaking the truth, always putting it out there, man, telling it like it is. It's awesome. And so today, yeah. Okay, Ashley. I like to kind of look at this. I want to kind of try to look at this movie, and I don't know, like try to kind of look at this movie from the lens of you and I as comic book readers. So
Yes.
for me, the first thing that sticks out in my mind with Batman Begins, and this is what I was thinking about for like an hour before the show, was Rachel Dawes as a character.
Yep.
I will never understand why, with as much Batman lore that exists and as many comic book iterations of this character that DC has put out over the many, many decades that they've been in existence, why this movie needed Rachel Dawes, an original character that was never part of the comic book lore, never part of Batman's history, when we know that Batman has had various relationships that have been very integral with women, that have been very integral to his development. I mean, hell, they could have even used Andrea Beaumont from Batman Mask of the Phantasm from the 90s. That was one of the most well developed relationships, in my opinion, with Batman, that so I was really, really surprised that they created this original character out of nowhere and made her such a important part of Bruce Wayne's life, and basically having a lot of the decisions that he made as Batman hinging on his relationship with her. So that was a lot. There was a lot of things there with that character that I took a lot of issues with Batman Begins as a comic book reader. What's your take on Rachel?
I mean, the fact that she is original character, and also you have to think that Nolan's Batman is kind of like a deconstruction kind of, hey, Anzo, of, Batman, right? And with Rachel Dawes, for me, I didn't mind her so much in the film, from a film standpoint. Yeah, at first it kind of like going into it, I was like, this is, a new character. She's been developed just for the film. But the fact that I like the fact that they grew up together, that she kind of like snaps him out of it a bit in the film, and kind of becomes his like moral compass and like tries to instill those values, that his father stood on. So I think it was kind of like him, like his family kind of like speaking, his parents speaking through, her from the grave kind of thing is the way that I took it. So, but with her character, but I mean, yeah, she's an original character just for the film. So that's a little different. But I think that the way they did it doesn't bother me.
And Skywalker the Jedi says here, I think if they used Beaumont, people would be expecting her to turn into the Phantasm later on. You know what? I think that would have been fantastic because I'm a big Mask of the Phantasm fan. But the thing is, that'll be a movie that, Ashley and I will have to tackle later on. But this is, but I mean, for me, I just took issue with the fact that Batman has so many interesting and strong female characters in his throughout his epic history that it just kind of surprised me that they felt the need to go that direction. And again, making her such an important part of Bruce's life. Like, my whole issue with Rachel was more so not so much her being an original character, but but how they made so much of who Batman is hinge on that relationship. I mean, all throughout, he's literally teetering back and forth between the vow that he takes as Batman and his relationship with Rachel. And to me, that was something that I just struggled with, because as we all know, Batman is committed 100% to the mission, is committed 100% to what he does. And he took his vow, and he has that vow to his parents. So to me, it was sort of like I kind of seen it almost as a betrayal of the character, just in the sense that I don't think Batman would have put that much weight on his relationship with Rachel if Rachel was a real character.
That she was, his parents, in a sense, like reminding him of the values and what he stands for and what his parents stood for. I thought that's how I took it. Like she was a physical representation of them.
Yeah, I get your point. Your point makes a lot of sense, and I see where you're going with it. So I don't take issue with your view. I think your view is good too, and I just see it. I'm just looking at it just strictly from the perspective of a comic book reader. For example, Batman brings up a good point here. He says, to be fair, Andrea Beaumont was an original character in that movie. Yes. Yeah. But what you don't realize is Andrea Beaumont is actually based off of a comic book love interest, and she skips, and I can't think of her name right now, off of a very similar story from Mask of the Phantasm. Took a lot of inspiration from a Batman Year 2 comic called Batman Year 2. And in that storyline, there was a character like the Phantasm and a character like Andrea Beaumont. And they took a lot of inspiration for Mask of the Phantasm and for that character from that comic book. And essentially, if you look at the two side by side, it's essentially the same characters, just name changed for the sake of Mask of the Phantasm. And I don't know why they did that either, but we'll get into that when we talk about Mask of the Phantasm. But I always wondered why that was the case. And it's not just Batman Begins. It's a lot of movies that tend to do that when they adapt from a comic book, where they create original characters and make these original characters so pivotal to the plot, and make the original characters so important to the main character that you almost have to wonder. It's like, well, where the hell were you during the comic books if you're so important to this character? It's like I don't know. I struggle with that, but that's just me being a comic book nerd and looking at it through the lens of a comic book nerd.
See, and I guess with Batman for me, I've read Batman and stuff like that, and I enjoyed it, but I'm not like big into a lot of DC content, really. So I guess for me, it wasn't such an issue, but I don't really necessarily enjoy a lot of the acting choices Katie Holmes did within the course of the film. outside of the scene in the car. But I felt like that I understood what her character represented for Bruce, and at a time when he was, kind of questioning, going back and forth with who he really is. And I thought that it was impactful in the film.
And I love that you mentioned, the scene in the car, because that is without a doubt her best scene as a character. I think in the entire Nolan verse. I think she's essentially by that scene right there, she actually showed some character development. She showed the strength of the character, and she showed the necessity of that character being there. So as much as I had issue with her being in the film at all or being created for the film, and again, like you, I agree. I don't think that Katie Holmes up until that point really delivered anything more than a damsel in distress kind of character. But when you take into account that particular scene, or the scene where she literally slaps Bruce in the face, I think that's the one you're referring to.
Yeah.
That to me was the highlight of her character, and I felt like that was great. I'm like, okay, now we're seeing what this character is. Now we're seeing why this character exists and why she's so important to the story. So that's a great way of looking at her character, because that's was her main purpose. I wouldn't be surprised if that scene was written before she was even thought of. Like, we're going to have a female character that's going to be original, and this is what her role is going to be like. And that scene was like the first thing they came up with, because that's very important and very pivotal for the development of this iteration of Batman later on. So
yeah, I didn't have any. I know I'm not going to get into it a whole lot because we're not talking about The Dark Knight. I didn't have issues with Rachel as a character until we got to The Dark Knight. But so I think that in Batman Begins that she was a solid character overall, just based off that one scene.
But as far as Katie Holmes as an actress and Rachel Dawes as a character, how do you think that Rachel Dawes compared to some of the female characters in the Batman mythology? Like we have of course we have Selina Kyle, we have Vicky Vale, we have Silver St. Cloud, we have St. Cloud, we have all these different female characters that are, and then I like to bring up Andrea Beaumont, which Dan was nice enough to point out about her being an invention for Mask of the Phantasm. But again, there's so much in the comic book lore. Are there any characters that you felt, any female characters that would have fit better into Batman Begins from the standpoint of a comic book reader?
Not in the origin story, I don't think.
Okay.
I think that from a jumping off spot, the way they went about it, I think that she was the best. I mean, maybe not the best, but I think that her character makes the most sense, really, because it's an origin story, and I think that Rachel Dawes within that origin story is the best. She's not the best, character for, female lead and love interest for Bruce Wayne. Absolutely not. But right. I think that in the story that they were trying to tell, I think that she's the best.
Yeah, I mean, and I was thinking about it too. I was like, my God, I would not have minded if they would have introduced Selina Kyle early on. If they would have made Selina Kyle a love interest, kind of like how they did with the Gotham TV show, where they made Selina Kyle, the childhood, they kind of had the childhood.
Yeah, but she was like in a gray area though. And I think that I just don't think that that she would have been the best choice in the in the first film. Like, I think that, like, now in the second film, if Rachel Dawes was pulled back a bit and maybe something happened to her early on in the movie, and we were introduced to Selena Kyle in the second film and then continued on in the third, that's how I would have preferred with her character. We were introduced to her a lot sooner than
in the Dark Knight. Oh, you mean introducing her in the Dark Knight? And then
yes.
I you know what? I agree with you there. I think that would have made Selena Kyle's character a lot more pivotal and important, especially when you consider the weight that they put on Rachel Dawes as a character. And to bring in, especially if you weren't going to, bring her in at a young age, like what they tried to do in Gotham, which I don't know, arguably you could say that it worked for that show. It worked for what they were doing. But here, if you take Selena Kyle and you give her character more time to develop, especially post Rachel, it would have made more sense. And
even in the second half, soon at, like, if even like exactly like if maybe he had been hearing about like this this cat burglar, and then he interacts with her after Rachel dies, and it's not then a whole lot, but that she's there. I think that it would have gave more weight to her in the third film.
Okay.
I think that you could have, fixed her in there some way, in the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
All you had to do was cut down on some of Rachel's stuff in the second
film. especially for knowing what ended up happening to Rachel anyway. You could have had that happen. You could have had that happen a lot sooner, and it would have allowed for you to bring in Selena Kyle as a character, not necessarily as Catwoman. Maybe we wouldn't have got her as Catwoman until the last film, but essentially developing her and building her more so that she is just as pivotal as Rachel, especially considering the way they decided to end the Dark Knight trilogy. When you think about it, I feel like that was one of the biggest missteps of that trilogy. Not developing Selena Kyle in a more organic way.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that was the one character that stood out.
I think she was underused in the third film. But I had a lot of problems with Anne Hathaway's Selena Kyle in that movie.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that
another day.
When we talk about Dark Knight Rises, you and I will delve deep into Anne Hathaway's miscasting and the way they horribly used the character. Oh my God, I can't wait to talk about that movie now, because that's something that I absolutely detest about The Dark Knight Rises. Batman 530 asks ZodWriter, can you post the storyline on Twitter with the Andrea Beaumont influence? Just look up Batman Year 2. Just Google it, and it'll tell you everything you need to know. There's actual pictures. I mean, and you might even be able to find the comic online if you look in the right places. Google is your friend. You will definitely find it. Skywalker the Jedi says on the animated series, HQ was original. Okay, Harley Quinn was original. Yeah, Harley Quinn was original for the animated series as well. There's a lot of characters that started out on in movies and TV shows that later became comic book characters and became important comic book characters. But the funny thing is, Rachel Dawes is not among them. I have to point this out because the character, the character was pivotal to Batman Begins and Dark Knight, whatever, and even to some degree Dark Knight Rises, but she wasn't important enough to be translated later on into the comic books. I mean, hell, even in Smallville, even Chloe Sullivan eventually became an actual comic book character. So that tells me that, Rachel Dawes as a character really wasn't utilized in the way that she could have been in order to eventually translate into a comic book character. I don't know. What do you think, Ashley?
I think if Katie Holmes would have came back for the second film, I think that the way she portrays Rachel Dawes, I think that she might have shown up in the comic books. Maggie, her portrayal, I think, just in a way, because I just don't, I hated it. I think that she kind of almost in a way, kind of like blew up everything that Katie Holmes did in the first movie. Because like she was a whole different character in the second film. And annoying, and a lot of people just didn't like her. I mean, she was nagging, and the way that she would, speak to Bruce, it seemed like she was kind of like very condescending to him the second time around. It didn't seem like it came from the same place. And I think that was a lot of her choices as an actor, So I think that if she was a lot, I think if people enjoyed the character, then you would have seen her in the comics. And I think that the reason why people didn't, were turned off by her so much, because everybody I've talked to and then I've seen online that everybody was happy when she died, not because it like gave, Bruce this emotional weight or in the things, the results of what happened to Harvey. It was just because they were glad that she was gone because she was so annoying to them,
Absolutely.
I think she took a character that could have potentially been a good character and been someone that you would have seen in the comics, to something that was just kind of like, okay, we did that, now let's act like it never happened and let's not revisit that character.
Right. There's a certain level of growth you expect to see from movie to movie if they continue showing characters. Just like in comics, you see character arcs and you see these characters grow, and this is why you start to love these characters and appreciate them and want to see more of them. And you're exactly right. By the time we get to The Dark Knight, Maggie Gyllenhaal is just a jarring transition, like literally like a face turning transition, and not in a good way at all. So I mean, I would have, in my mind, I was thinking at that point, if you weren't able to get Katie Holmes to come back and the only choice you had was Maggie Gyllenhaal, I would have made Maggie Gyllenhaal a completely different character.
Yeah. Or yeah. It just didn't. I think that they just made the wrong casting choice, because I think there could have been other choices that kind of would have in line with that, like wholesome girl
Honestly,
next door type of
I
feel.
think they should have. I think they should have went ahead and just totally did a complete swap on the character. Like, you know how like when in like Batman Forever, they bring back Two-Face from the Burtonverse, but instead of having it be Billy D. Williams, they have it be Tommy Lee Jones for some goofy reason. Maybe because Tommy Lee Jones was a big box office draw at
That's
that
what
time.
it was.
But I think what they should have done, honestly, what would have made it even more awesome, if you were really going to go for that and you were going to make it jarringly different, I think in The Dark Knight, they should have got Zoe Saldana to play Rachel. They should have just totally like did a complete swap like they did
Or
with
Anne Hathaway should have been Rachel
could have been
Dawes.
Rachel too. That's another one that could have pulled it off. Yeah. It just, to me, that character is like, for me, is like the sore thumb of the entire series.
And like, even though Katie Holmes and Anne Hathaway, they don't really look alike, I feel like she looks closer to who Rachel
Zoe
Dawes.
Saldana looks closer to Katie Holmes than Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest with you. It's like she's just, it was like a night and day difference in casting in the way that
it
she
was
looks.
just a horrible performance. It was
Oh
because,
yeah. She phoned it in
all around.
100%. She phoned it in. And I'm not saying
Bruce.
and I'm
I
not
hated how
saying
she
that
said Bruce. I hated how, like, her voice when she would say Bruce. I just,
and the way that Harvey Dent and Bruce Wayne were just fawning all over her in the movie, and it was like, that is just so unrealistic. I'm just gonna say it right there, that neither one of those characters, it's not believable that either one of those guys would be into Maggie Gyllenhaal like that. I'm sorry. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, she does not translate as that character at all. And I
no.
don't know.
I know.
I'm
It just, it's, yeah, it just, yeah. I don't want to, like, I'm not trying to, like, talk about how she looks, but yeah, I feel you. Like, not, and like her personality didn't even lend anything to it either, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but I'm saying she was not attractive. You know what I mean? I feel so
Absolutely.
bad saying that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. As an actress, she just, and then not only that, to phone it in the way that she did too was
And
just
then
like ridiculous.
she didn't have the personality that I felt that would make them gravitate towards her. Cause like how she was in the film,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Not good.
So from a comic book perspective, what's a character that sticks out to you in this movie the way that Rachel Dawes kind of stuck out to me?
I'm trying to think.
Positively or negatively, like, it doesn't matter. I just want to know. I just was pinpointing Rachel because to me she just
Ra's al
stood out.
Ghul.
Okay.
I mean, I but it did seem slightly weird that like he like made Batman basic, like he didn't make him Batman, but he helped him become Batman. You know what I mean? I thought that was a little odd.
Given who Ra's al Ghul actually is in the comic books, and the mutual respect that even though I kind of look at Ra's al Ghul and Batman in the comic books, if this makes any sense, I kind of look at the two of them as like frenemies in the comic.
Yeah. I mean, yes, but like the training him
Right.
thing.
Here, it just kind of, what Nolan was going for was that he essentially simplified Ra's al Ghul, got rid of all the major lore, and just kind of hit on a few bullet points of the character, and made Liam Neeson's version far less interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's I mean, I get that, because in the comics, Batman was trained by the League of Assassins and was trained by Lady Shiva. There's a lot of things that you get from Batman that is translated into Batman Begins, but it's like Nolan kind of condensed all of that year one kind of tropes, and tried to give Liam Neeson this epic, type of theatricality. But in my mind, yeah, I think he kind of missed it, because he missed a lot of nuances and elements to the Ra's al Ghul character that are very, very important. I don't know. Let's see. We've got We've got
Yeah, I was
Batman
looking.
here
I was looking.
at the
I
comments.
saw that. I saw his comment. And I was like, "You wanna go? You wanna?"
Ashley the Widow, the Ra's al Ghul did not completely break comic book roots. Liam's character was a merged character in the comics. His alias is a separate character, Henry Ducard. Henry Ducard trained Batman and was a villain. Well, it's like this. It's like this. I think that, you know, again, Ra's al Ghul could have worked better as Ra's al Ghul. I mean, they could have literally just taken the comic book version of the villain and ported him into Nolan's world. It could have worked. I don't see why not. I don't see why you needed all of this. And you could have made Ducard a different character. I mean, I don't know.
I think that it worked in the context of the film, but to me it seemed like a little strange. But that's my opinion. Because I mean, I liked once he came back and he was the main who's a villain of the film when he was trying to destroy Gotham and all that. I just didn't like before we got to that point. Before that, his interactions with Bruce, really.
Yeah, I'm with you there. That's a great character to bring up because there's so much about Ra's al Ghul that if we actually got a really good comic book accurate version of Ra's al Ghul, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't necessarily think that Liam Neeson was right for that role either. And it's not that I don't think Liam Neeson could play the real Ra's al Ghul. I just think that they didn't give him enough. They didn't give him really enough to work with. They made his character seem to me so one-dimensional. But again, it did work in the context of Batman Begins. It worked for what they were doing. So I guess you could say it was a success. I don't know.
I mean, I enjoyed Liam Neeson's performance, as a character.
Yeah. How about this one? What about Kane, since he trained bats in the comics as well? Yeah, that's a good point. What about Kane?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I guess I'm
a comic snob when it comes to
Batman Begins is a really good film. It's a good origin story, but it's also kind of like a real world take, slightly, deconstruction of Bruce Wayne and the Batman. So it's kind of like not a comic book film in the classic sense. You know what I mean?
I can agree with that. I can definitely agree with that. As a lifelong Batman comic book reader, I can agree with that 100%. I think it is essentially just Christopher Nolan's own take. He's not trying, and this is what we have to realize when we look at these movies from the perspective of comic book readers, that none of these filmmakers are really trying to be comic book accurate. None of these filmmakers are looking at these characters and saying, okay, we want to make Batman as close to his comic book roots as possible. They just want to cherry pick the elements that fit them and fit their direction for these movies. And they're going to go, if they think it can translate into a good story, that's what they're going to go with.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I think that the Nolan films kind of does that more though than like Batman 89 or
well, Batman 89 was definitely not comic book accurate.
No, it's not. It's not.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I'm just saying movie.
That with some of the things that you see in the film, like the way that the Joker becomes a Joker in certain things, like his Joker just like had makeup on his face,
Right. And I just was thinking, because this Batman we're starting to delve into Batmania again, because people are really excited for this upcoming Batman movie that's coming out. And I had said yesterday on a show I was doing where I had said that I'm seeing more and more of a big rollout of stuff for this movie. I mean, if I see that Little Caesars commercial one more time for the Batman calzone, I think I'm gonna throw up. I've seen it so many times. I'm like, wow, this is actually making me want to eat Little Caesars again. Because they keep showing it, and it just looks, like the product placement. I'm reminded of how it was back in the day where, when like you had a movie like, for example, like Batman and Robin, and it was all about merchandising and all about, pushing toys and clothes and Valentines and plates and all kinds of things,
That's what they do,
but they're putting their, but what is funny about it is Warner Brothers is literally putting their full weight behind it. You're seeing like a full swing advertising campaign that we didn't even get this kind of advertising campaign for Batman Begins.
No, because it's a different time too.
Yeah, Batman Begins was very, and this is one thing I will say about this movie is this movie had a very low key, almost indie like promotional thing. It was not very big. It was not big and bombastic like what they're doing now.
This is a different world of comic book films now, that times we're living in.
Yes. I am completely when I look at it like this and I see the success of, like, for example, Christopher Nolan's trilogy. Christopher Nolan did all of this. The remarkable thing with Christopher Nolan is that he did all of this, pretty much allowing the movies to essentially promote themselves. He didn't need all of this. He didn't need the big studio behind him pushing out Batman Begins everywhere with countless amounts of merchandise and stuff like that. Yeah, you got some Batman Begins related merchandise at the time, but it was nowhere near what they're trying to do here with, the Batman napkins and all that stuff. It's just totally, like you said, a completely different animal now. It's almost like a machine, in the works, the way that they're trying to push this new film.
They're on a mission.
They're on a mission to make $1 billion.
They're trying to get it, try to get close to them No Way Home dollars is what they're trying to do.
Do you think they're going to succeed at this point with this kind of juggernaut of advertisements? I mean, with the pizza and the.
I don't know if the pizza is going to help. But I'm kind of like scratching my head on the $1 billion thing. I think it can do it.
Yeah.
But I think that the fact that there's a 45-day window, and I keep saying that, if people don't get out really quickly in that first month, and then I don't know if it'll make $1 billion, because people can be like, because a lot of people go do rewatches, the film, and the fact that it's going to be on HBO, unless they change that, and push it back, those people who might have watched it a second time might just skip it in the theater and be like, hey, I have HBO Max, I'll just watch it at home.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it will be on. But I think it's going to be a really good film.
Ashley, I think you and I should do a watch party for this movie when it comes out on HBO Max.
Absolutely.
Because we're definitely going to talk about it, and it's kind of that's why it's kind of hard to talk about Batman now, talk about Batman Begins without mentioning the upcoming film, because to me, I don't know about you, but I get a lot of similar vibes. I look at, although as critical as I was of Batman Begins, I still think out of the two, I still think Batman Begins is going to be better than this new one coming out. But I don't know.
I love Batman Begins. It's a great origin story, and I know The Batman is not an origin story, and we don't need an origin story. Just like with Homecoming, we didn't need another Spider-Man origin film, because we know like the basics, how these characters, what they go through to become Batman. And we know what leads Batman down that path. We don't need to see that again. So I'm kind of glad that they're skipping that and doing something different. But like my issue is like, I think Batman Begins is such a great film. And then The Dark Knight is just a masterpiece, in my opinion, almost. I think it's it's close to a masterpiece, and like everybody saying, oh, this is going to be the greatest Batman film of all time. I'm like, wait, hold your horses. Hold your horses.
Yeah,
I guess because I'm so fond of Nolan's work, and his films. I just love Christopher Nolan, in general. I love, his movies. I just don't like. I'm not saying it's not a possibility, but I just have a hard time believing it's going to be better than The Dark Knight. Is going to be better than Batman Begins, because even though I'm excited to see this movie, the vibe that I'm getting from it is that it might be a little slower as a film in the pacing. And I don't know how I'm going to feel about that.
yeah, I don't either. I'm going into this movie completely blind. I don't know anything. I don't care to know. I just want to watch the movie and I'll form an opinion from there. Because again, Batman Begins to me is unique in that it's the first. I feel like it's the first time like a filmmaker with Batman didn't have to compromise. At that point, Nolan could essentially just do whatever he wanted, because at that point, Warner Brothers was just desperate to make Batman popular again after Batman and Robin. So I feel like at that point, it was just like they handed Nolan the keys and said, okay, do whatever the hell you want, and we'll hope for the best. And with this movie, I kind of feel like it's the exact same situation, except that Warner Brothers is like, not only are we going to let you do whatever the hell you want, but we're going to throw everything but the kitchen sink behind it, because we want it to be as successful as possible. Which I could argue that if they would have done that for some of their other movies, that maybe they wouldn't be in such a dire, desperate situation right now. But this, to me, kind of reeks of desperation when you have a company completely throwing everything they got at one movie, like throwing everything you got at one egg in the basket, and you don't really care about anything else. Because it seems like all of DC's other stuff is kind of getting kind of buried, and it's almost like, to me, feels like they're trying to hide, like the Flash movie. They're trying to kind of just like, steer you away from other stuff and just make you focus mainly on their centerpiece, because Batman is the crown jewel.
Yeah, he is their crown jewel. He's their bread and butter. I think Robert Pattinson is gonna knock it out of the park with his performance, and I think Jeffrey Wright will be good. But I think the acting will be at a high level, but the overall film and the story, I don't know if it can beat Batman Begins or The Dark Knight. And speaking of the Flash is in a lot of trouble, with its release date. It's too close to Black Panther 2, so I don't think it's gonna get a whole lot of traction.
I don't either, because we know virtually nothing about the Flash.
I'm gonna watch it. I mean, there's certain things that pique my interest about it, but I think that they're shooting themselves in the foot with such a close, like it being released the same month as Black Panther 2.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. If Marvel was smart, right, Marvel would put out something big to combat the Batman 2. Really rain on their parade. Put something huge out. I think if Marvel were to put out the Fantastic Four, I'm just saying. I don't know. And they wouldn't even. The thing about Marvel is they wouldn't even have to put it in theaters. They could put it on Disney Plus, and it would kill the Batman. I'm just saying.
I don't know about that. I mean, it would have to been like Spider-Man.
I kind of wish they would
an Avengers project. Maybe Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, just because of the scale of the film.
Yeah, they could do it. Yep.
But I'm trying to think of anything else really that could, make possibly Black Panther 2, just because of Chadwick and Ryan Coogler is such a great filmmaker, but I agree. I think that they should move it to August. But if they do that, but if they put it in August, that's so close to Black Adam though. Yeah. Still, and they don't want they want to put it in the
looks
next
like a
quarter.
Good movie, so
they want to put it in the next quarter, and Black Adam is kind of close to Thor: Love and Thunder too. I think that's why they're not going to release it in August, because Black Adam comes out the end of July.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they want to continue that streak all the way through August.
Black Adam looks like it's going to be great, though.
It does look like it's going to be good, but I'm worried.
That's the DC movie that I'm most excited about, because I think it's going to be great. Like, it just looks like it has all that like epicness that DC movies need. Like, it looks like it really, to me, it just looks. I mean, and I'm super excited about Dr. Fate. I absolutely love that character.
He looked great in the trailer.
Oh my god. Yeah.
My concern is Dwayne Johnson going to do what Dwayne Johnson does? And do like these cheesy, like, is he going to be The Rock?
Like rock bottoms and smackdowns and all that kind of stuff.
Like, just kind of like what he does, in the movies. And I'm so confused, like, and I think that he'll probably be evil at some point in the movie, but he just seems like
Scorpion King.
Yeah, that's what it reminds. Like that. But I mean, he just seems like he's too, like, from the footage, seems like a good guy. In the teaser, though, he did seem like he was a bad guy. That little you remember during DC Fandom, that little teaser they put out?
Yeah. Well, you saw the Worlds of DC trailer that they just put out, didn't you?
Yeah. And I'm saying in this trailer, all the footage like kind of gave me a different vibe. So obviously, I think there's gonna be a switch at some point. I don't know,
right.
Because it seems like what we're seeing from the teaser, it looks like it's definitely present day. So I feel like maybe he's gonna be evil afterwards.
Yeah,
I know he's been known to be an anti-hero, but he I think that I don't want to see that. I want to see him evolve into an anti-hero. I don't want to see him start from a point where he's, not evil.
Right, where he's already a member of the Justice League is what they're making it seem like right there. Like,
I want him to be a villain first.
And Integrity 101 says, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more Michael Keaton Batman. I can't deny it. Well, one thing I could say is that I hope that they use Michael Keaton properly, because essentially, one thing I think that Batman 89 definitely got right is something similar to what Matt Reeves is doing here, which it's not really a Batman origin story. It essentially it does give you the origin a little bit, but it does it in a couple of seconds, and you essentially get Batman already being Batman from the beginning of the movie. So you're not, and I think that's like what they should do going forward when they make Batman movies. We don't need any more Batman origin stories. Everybody knows Batman by now. He's iconic. If you don't know Batman's origin, you've got like 17 movies that you can go back and look at. You've got tons of comics you can read. So, I mean, I don't see any reason to go into Batman's origin ever again. Like, it's been done to death. Okay. Oh, and then this is a good point. Showcase says, you're talking about Black Adam, reminded me of a flashier version of Eternals. Wow, that's an amazing take. Wow, a flashier Eternals. Wow. See, now that's going to stick in my head when I watch Black Adam. And I was really excited for Black Adam, too. Now I'm going to be thinking about this line when I'm watching it. A flashier version of Eternals. Uh-oh. Yeah, because we talked about Eternals. How we felt about it. So what was a character that you thought in Batman Begins that you thought was done, that you thought was comic book accurate? Like, what did you like in terms of how the movie went? For me, it was, I gotta say, it was Alfred. I thought Alfred was pretty comic book accurate, because he's always been there for Bruce, and he really does. And Michael Caine is a brilliant actor.
I agree.
Maybe a little bit. I mean, the whole, the Falcone thing. Maybe a little bit, because the mob boss and stuff. I was thinking like the mob boss from like Batman: The Long Halloween and all the different things that they tried.
I think that Falcone, though, in the Batman, even though we haven't seen it yet, I feel like his take might be
accurate.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. We'll have to see. I am looking forward to doing that. I'm definitely looking forward to doing that watch party with you on the Batman. I think that'll be amazing. We could really like delve into it. We'll watch the movie and we'll talk about it, and because we're gonna definitely talk about the Batman the week it comes out for sure. But like a watch party, I think would be incredible, because that'll be a different thing. The Marvel film Marvel film character do you think fit Dwayne Johnson, Widow?
Maybe Hercules. I know.
Didn't he play Hercules? It wasn't the Marvel version of Hercules, but didn't he play Hercules? Maybe. Yeah, there was a Hercules movie that came out a few years ago. I might have to rewatch Dwayne Johnson's Hercules movie.
I think that he would have to be a god, I feel like. And I think Hercules, I mean, we already have Russell Crowe's going to be Zeus, and I don't know if he would really fit Zeus. But I would
play Jor-El. He might be able to play Zeus. I don't know. Interesting.
No, I'm not talking about Russell Crowe. I think the casting is good for him. I'm saying that I don't think that The Rock could be Zeus. So, I think that
in Marvel, I think The Rock could play Submariner.
Yeah, I think I would prefer to see him as like Hercules, though, as a god.
Yeah,
just for I would like that.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I don't want him in the MCU.
You don't want him in the MCU. You're not. Oh boy. Well, I think it's inevitable. I think eventually he will be.
No, I think he's got it locked up over on DC. I think he's gonna be like one of their mainstays.
Well, it'd be like if you eventually have Henry Cavill jumping ship and playing Captain Britain for Marvel.
I think he will, because contract negotiations are falling apart. But I don't think they're going to give The Rock what The Rock wants when The Rock wants it. he is like he's kind of an architect of this film, and I don't see that happening, because he's so. I mean, I think he could have been. I'm trying to think. He could have. I mean, he could have been Black Bolt, maybe. Maybe. But I think Hercules.
Or Luke Cage. Luke Cage, maybe.
Nah. No. Too late. I don't think so. I would.
Not comic book accurate enough. Sorry, Rock, you lose.
No. And like, I just don't think I think that he doesn't look like Luke Cage to me.
No, yeah, that's true. He doesn't. I agree. He doesn't.
I don't know.
And I think he could play Submariner, but he would have to lose a lot of weight for Submariner.
Yeah, see, I that's why I think Hercules would be good for him.
Yeah. Batdan 530 wants to know, what did you guys think of Scarecrow in Batman Begins? Was he better than the Titans version?
I haven't seen Titans.
Scarecrow. Oh my God.
I keep like hearing mixed reports. Like, it's a good show. I hear people say it's good, then other people say it's not good. I just haven't tried.
Yeah, I didn't like Titans. I watched the first season and I never went back to it.
So, I mean, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on the Scarecrow in Titans. But I like Scarecrow in Batman Begins. I wish he had more to do. Like, it's like he became like the second. I mean, even though he was the first villain that we saw, he wasn't the main villain, And I really liked him, I really, really did like him. I wish he just had more. I wish he had more going on.
Yeah, in fact, I'll go as far as to say, I think Batman Begins would have been a better movie if Scarecrow would have been like the main villain, like the only villain. I think Batman Begins would have been better because it would have given Scarecrow more to do in the film. It would have made his character a lot deeper because he would have been the main villain focus. And I think that it would have been more interesting, but
he was so creepy too.
Yeah, he was creepy, and they had a lot of scary elements. I mean, you want to do a straight up horror movie? You want to do a straight up horror movie about a Batman villain, about a Batman character? You make a movie about Scarecrow.
He's such a good actor too.
Yeah, he was a good actor. Colin Murphy. Colin Murphy,
yeah.
I think. Integrity 101 says, I liked Scarecrow in Begins. I did too. I just didn't like the fact that he was marginalized. He was just essentially a pawn in the bigger scheme of Ra's al Ghul, and it was just all this, I
didn't mind though. I didn't mind that since they introduced, him, and then they brought him back to fight, Bruce in the end. And I think that it kind of redeemed, him as even though he was training him because he wanted to use him and manipulating for his causes, I like the fact that even though he trained him and helped him to become the Batman, that it was him in the end that he had to fight and, and defeat just because of how they went about using him, with Bruce and that relationship that they had in the beginning. But I would have, if they would have, not done that at all, I think, Scarecrow, I think would have been more compelling,
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And, again,
but I love Batman Begins, so nothing's wrong with it, really.
I think the most, but I also, again, I agree with Showcast here. I think that Alfred is the most comic book
I do
accurate
too.
version character in the film. Like in the film, if you look at the context of the movie Batman Begins, as a comic book reader, Alfred gets the award for being the most comic book accurate. He definitely is.
Yes.
And I think that that's something that you and I should do every show. We should pick
One
the one
character.
character from each movie that we feel is the most comic book accurate
And I
as
think he's
comic book readers.
obviously best Alfred.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
best.
Obviously, he's a
Best. Like,
great portrayal.
like the best casting choice is like Sir Michael Caine is Alfred. I mean, like, of course. I mean, and he's all the outside the fact that he's always in Christopher Nolan's films in some way, but I mean, you couldn't have got a better actor to do that. Like, like just perfect. Like his interactions with Bruce, all of that, and it just seems so close to who he is. It was great. I such a great character.
And Showcast says Rage from New Warriors Dwayne could play. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, but I don't.
But Hercules, I now you got me. Like, I'm going to go back and watch the Dwayne Johnson Hercules movie after this, because it's been a long time since I've seen it. Now I want to see him as that character because you mentioned it. I'm like, oh, I gotta think about that. But I think Gladiator from X-Men, he could be suited for Dwayne as well. Yeah, the problem is, though, these are all too small characters for him. He wouldn't play those kinds of roles. He would be like, he would need somebody. He would want to be somebody that was.
I think that you could make Hercules into a thing.
Oh yeah, of course you could. Of course you could. Showcase says, I gave up after season 2 of Titans. Fighting fear, that would have become a brilliant focus for a Batman movie if Scarecrow was the focus. Cillian Murphy would have shined in it as the Scarecrow, and Jonathan Crane. I agree. I would. That's why I would love to see like a whole movie, kind of like how DC went and made that Joker movie and made it like a character study. I'd love to see Scarecrow as a character study movie. Same actor. And you get his whole origin, you get what's going on in his head at the time, you get this entire story built around that character. I think that would be a brilliant film, and I think it would make money too. It'd be amazing. What about Gary Oldman and Morgan Freeman? What did you think of these characters?
I love Gary Oldman. Like,
yeah, Gary Oldman was definitely year one. Was definitely Batman year one. Gordon, sure.
I really liked him. Morgan Freeman.
A little old for Lucius Fox.
I liked him though because of his performance. Yeah. But I felt like he, I liked Morgan Freeman, but I really don't think he fit Lucius Fox. But I think that he made me believe it. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense? That's what I'm saying. Like, I really don't think that in my head I would think of Morgan Freeman in the role, but I think he did a good enough job.
It was nice that he was there. Let me just put it that way. He was a nice character to have, but
he was just like, it kind of. I mean, he had more to do, but I'm going to compare him to Mason, kind of like in Black Widow. It was just like, I need this. Okay, I got you. I'm going to get it. Okay. In a weird way. That's all. He was just reduced to kind of like an errand boy at times.
Yes.
He didn't have a lot to do.
No, he didn't. So Showcast says, so comic film MVP goes to Michael Caine's Alfred. Yeah, for this movie, it is Michael Caine's Alfred, hands down, at least for me, and I guess for you too, Ashley. I think he's I just think he was perfect as Alfred, and it was comic book accurate, 100%. Which you should call it Zod Comic Movie MVP Award. Yeah, there you go. So for the MVP for Batman Begins, we got to give it to Alfred. We got to give it to Michael Caine. I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you. Yeah, there we go again with the most the most controversial element of Batman Begins. I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you. Thank you for bringing up that line. Ashley, your take on that?
I love the line. I loved it.
But my problem is you have all these people that say, "Oh, but Batman doesn't kill.
He doesn't
Batman
kill.
doesn't kill.
He doesn't. He didn't kill him. Maybe directly he didn't.
But he could have saved him. That's my issue. He could have. It's sort of.
But he didn't kill him. I mean, like even Michael
not to get into
people.
Not to get into.
I'm just saying,
Man
like
of
all
Steel,
the Batman. I'm just saying all the Batman that we have seen has caused the death of someone.
Yeah.
All of them have. So
all
it's
of them, and I think Robert Pattinson's will too.
It's just the way it is. They say he's not going to.
They say that, but then they also say that the movie is like Zodiac Killer in 7. So I don't know. Like, how do you? They say it's more like a horror film than an action. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But I kind of look at this line as like the hypocritical argument to everybody who says that Superman should not have snapped Zod's neck in Man of Steel. When you look
I don't think he should have.
I kind of feel like it's the same argument here, though. If he would have saved Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul would have just came back later and continued the same stuff.
But he didn't kill. But Ra's al Ghul survives.
He died in Batman Begins.
He comes back.
That was a hallucination.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm not remembering things correctly right now.
Yeah, that was a hallucination. He doesn't really come back. That was, a hallucinogen. But he was. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, Batman didn't save him because he knew that if he did, Ra's al Ghul would have came back.
But Superman is different. Superman's different. Seeing him snap seeing him snap his neck though. I think that it should have been. I feel like
Zod is another. I feel like Zod is another one though. He would have just kept coming. He would have just kept coming.
I'm not saying but I'm not saying he could have done something where he didn't, aid in his survival. But like the type of death that it was.
Oh, okay. So your issue is the type of death, the neck snapping death.
Yeah, because I just don't see like to me, there's no way in my mind that Superman does that ever. Sorry.
Okay. So all right. So
I gasped.
So with Batman. So back to Batman Begins.
We are.
No, I'm not going to get mad at you. No, because now I understand. But now I understand the context of why you don't like that scene. What I love about you, Ashley, is that you're not just saying, "Oh, I just didn't like the scene." You actually provide me with a reason. You actually say, "Well, I didn't like the manner in which it was done. I don't necessarily have an issue with him killing Zod. I just have an issue with the manner in which it was done." So okay, I get it.
Been like more indirectly, like Batman, then I would have been like, okay, you know what I mean? Because that something like that. If it was like, but yeah, I just didn't like the man. I literally gasped when it happened.
Wow, I wish I could have been watching the movie with you when you seen it and you gasped. I would have just been like, "Oh, it's okay, Ashley. Don't worry. It's just Superman. Don't worry." I know, but this is really, again, this is really a fun conversation because the perspective we're looking at this movie in a completely different perspective than the way that you normally would. We're not necessarily reviewing these movies as much as we're breaking them down in the context of comic book lore. So I love that. To me, it just feels really good because you can actually talk about the movies in a different way, whether you actually like the movie or didn't like the movie, you know. Let's see. And everyone runs with that because they feel the animated series was close to the comics when the show also took liberties with the source material.
I'm not. Okay. I have no problem. Like, I just, like, with me, Superman is, I don't know. I just don't, like, for me, no, I just didn't like him snapping his neck, you know? Like, Batman and, being a more vengeful Batman and BBS, like, that doesn't bother me. Like, all the stuff that he did, I mean, the branding was a little much, but like
the branding was kind of new,
but everything else, it didn't bother me, like I mean, like I said, all Batman, every version of Batman is kills, every single one. So, I think that, the way that Nolan and the way they chose to do it was be like, hey, I'm not going to save you, but I'm also not going to, murder you. If you can figure out a way to get out of this sticky situation,
your death is going to happen regardless because this train's not stopping.
If there's a miracle, which there's not, you know what I mean? But obviously nothing was going to save him. You know what I'm saying? He was basically saying, hey, I felt like he was like, hey, you're a smart guy. If you got something you can pull out to save yourself, then figure it out.
You're a smart, you're a smart guy. You got 6 seconds. I'm out of here. Integrity 101 says, imagine a cruise and someone falls overboard. The person says, hey, throw me a life jacket. And Batman says, hey, I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you either.
I think that's not the same. That's not the same, though. Also, like, it's not the same.
It's kind of like in this case, though. But this is why I kind of.
But did the person that is overboard, drowning, was he, torturing and, putting people's lives at risk on a large scale and trying to destroy a whole city and kill hundreds of thousands of people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. Yeah,
I think it's a little
that's
different.
That's why Batman didn't throw him the life boat because because he was a scumbag. So Batman was like, we're gonna have one less scumbag in the world. Yeah. So my thing is that it's just kind of like I see those two scenes, Superman killing Zod and Batman not saving Ra's al Ghul as being mirrors of each other, because Superman knows that if he doesn't kill Zod, that Zod is just going to keep coming and he's going to terrorize the people of Earth. He's going to kill as many people as possible. And he's Kryptonian, so it's not like the Earth is going to be able to stop him on their own. So I get that. And I also get that Batman is essentially looking at Ra's al Ghul in the same way. He's just going to keep coming. He's going to want to burn everything down. He's not going to stop. But then this is where I have the problem. Why the line bothers me so much, because later on in the series, you get the Dark Knight and you get the Joker, who is clearly an anarchist doing crazy stuff, and he's just going to keep doing things over and over again. And Batman tolerates him. Joker doesn't die.
Because that's part of Joker's game, though. Like, if he does that, then the Joker wins. I mean, the Joker, in my opinion, won anyway in that movie.
He did win.
But if he kills him, then the Joker's right. And in that situation, him not killing him, I think, is the more powerful thing, the more powerful move.
Yeah. It is. I agree. Not killing is the more powerful move. But again, for a Batman not to kill, and like you pointed out earlier, that every version of Batman has had, has inadvertently caused deaths, whether intentionally or unintentionally, in all versions of Batman. So we can I think we can kind of put that argument to rest, at least. I think and if he doesn't kill at all in the Pattinson one, I'll be very surprised. I'll be shocked if he doesn't kill anybody, or if he's not in any way responsible for the death of anybody. I'll be really surprised.
Yeah, because if he does something that causes specific things to happen, and there's people in that location and those people die, that's still them dying at his hand, so
it looks like this Batman, at least, the Pattinson version kind of has the inclination to save people. I mean, in the one clip that they released, he was Bruce Wayne, and he saved that little boy from being injured from the car crashing into the church, which to me was church or funeral home, whatever that was. Maybe that guy drowning was Ashley. We don't know. Maybe, but Ashley would have got out. What's up? Good to see you. This is a lot of fun. I'll argue that Superman didn't kill Zod in Superman 2. Well, Superman 2, it depends what version of Superman 2 you watch. And let's see, Superman had no kryptonite, as it wasn't discovered yet. So that's the context people need to go with. Where in other versions, Superman had options to get rid of the Kryptonian bad guys. That's very true. And I do love Ashley's viewpoint, where it's not that he kills Zod, it's that the manner in the brutal manner in which it was done.
A waste of character, because you could have put him, I think that he could have, even though we didn't get a second Superman movie, so maybe it's a good thing, but
I don't know.
I'm saying that he died. I was gonna say, instead of killing him, he could have been sidelined and brought back, is what I was going to say.
My thing is, here's something that'll really blow your mind here though, Ashley, because from what I've heard, allegedly General Zod is going to be back in this Flash movie. So
yeah, he is.
What if Superman actually didn't kill Zod? What if he
just like a variant, or some, y'all don't call it variants, a multiverse
variant, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But if it is the Zod from Man of Steel, then essentially, what if he didn't die? Maybe what if it was just an injury and he recovered from it? No, it's interesting.
Maybe
interesting
but
way
then
to
it
look
just
at
seems
things.
like
it kind of.
Then you need to tell me where he went and where he's been, and
his body was
I know, right?
They
can't do that. That wouldn't make any sense.
How would you bring him back, considering that he turned into the Doomsday monster?
Yeah.
So this means
that wouldn't make, he is an alternate version.
He's either an alternate version, or the Flash somehow goes back in time and gets him before Superman snaps his neck.
Or it's from when he goes and saves his mother, it changes things and he's not dead.
Oh, you weren't saying that Ashley was the drowning person. Okay, so Bat Dad is just clarifying here. No. I wasn't saying the guy was Ashley. I meant maybe he was killing thousands. Addressing Ashley's question. I wasn't saying Ashley was the one drowning. Wouldn't wish that on her. Well, no, we know you weren't wishing that on her. I was saying in general, not to Ashley's point of the method Superman used to kill Zod. Yeah. I mean, I have no issues with people having problems with the method that was used, because that's a matter of personal subjectivity. I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. I could see you saying that, because there are different ways in which that could have been done. So I agree with that. But me personally, I just had no issues with it. But I can understand, people who do. And when you do, and you're able to actually provide an intelligent reason as to why you feel that way, it makes for a much better conversation, other than just, oh, it sucks. Superman would never do that. That's a terrible Superman, whatever. No, you actually can provide reasons as to why you feel the way you do. And thus that makes everything better. Integrity 101 says, I hope the new Bat film is great. In a nutshell, it looks to me like Reeves took Affleck's script and swapped Deathstroke for Riddler. I'm unimpressed with the suit and the Batmobile, though. Yeah, I'm unimpressed with the suit too. I think like the suit looks like the Riddler's. Well, the Riddler's suit to me looks like a garbage bag, like a green garbage bag.
I don't like the Riddler
with tape on it. I don't like the look of the Riddler at all, and I do not like the new cowl of the Batman either. I don't like the vest like the vest like chest plate. I don't like that either. I think that looks a little weird for Batman, but okay. I mean, we'll see. We'll see when we watch the movie. I'm going to keep an open mind.
See, I don't hate it. I like the Batmobile though, and especially because like I read the prequel book for the Batman.
There's a prequel book.
It's like a junior book, but yeah, they put a book out like
was Batman having sex with Catwoman on the top of the Batmobile?
No, it's like starts when he obviously starts from when he's a kid. It jumps ahead. It explains like why the Riddler has like this thing against Bruce, and then it shows that he got this car to restore it, and that he at one point he was racing cars in it too, and he's restoring this car to try to and upgrading it to make it as fast as possible. And I thought that was cool, and I think the car looks really cool. So it shows like how he builds up. The book just explains how he creates all the tools that he uses to become Batman. And
now I know you're excited about this movie. You read a junior prequel book. That's
I always like before
awesome.
like what I do that though, like before, like even though most of the Marvel stuff I already read, right? But like I reread, like for WandaVision, I reread West Coast Avengers and House M, and before Falcon Winter Soldier, I read things. Like I usually do that, before the property comes out. I usually will read something, and that was like specifically linked to the film. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to watch it.
That is great. You see, this is what I'm talking about. You see, so like that's why I said why now you understand why I wanted to do this show with you, because you're a reader just like me. We read all this stuff, and it essentially makes the shows better, and it allows for these unique perspectives. This is so awesome. Bat Dan wants to know, Ashley. So, Ashley, what do you think Superman should have done instead? We can really talk about this when we talk about Man of Steel.
Yes.
Because we will eventually get to Man of Steel.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Or the story of Bobby Booker.
Yeah. So what were you saying? You were saying before, you said
I was going to say something? I'm reading The Death of Doctor Strange right now. That's what I'm reading right now.
I'm like giving a thumbs up, and we're not even on camera. I feel so stupid. I'm like thumbs upping you for this, and I'm like, yeah, see, and I'm like not even on camera. Nobody can see what I'm doing.
I wave, like I'm so used to having my camera on, like, well, not lately, but like I'll be waving, and like when it's time to go by, I'm like, well, I'll wait, like, can nobody see me? So I get it. Yeah. But I'm reading The Death of Doctor Strange. It's really good.
Cool.
the new Thor series was really good. You know,
I
like that.
reread The Death of Captain Marvel right before Captain Marvel came out.
Yeah, I don't really like Captain Marvel though, because I don't really like.
I don't either.
I don't really like her.
I hate that character, and
I
I
don't
hate
like
I hate the
her.
way she was portrayed too. So
I mean, but she's kind of close to who she is in the comics. I mean, she's like a very she's not. I mean, she
very
doesn't have a lot
unlikable.
of not a whole lot of emotions, but she has Kree blood running through. I mean, so it's kind of like it makes sense, but it's not a compelling character, you know. Like if you put her in like a team up film, maybe I don't not necessarily Avengers, but like as a sideline character that comes in to like help, you know what I mean? But like to head a franchise and to be the lead of something, I don't like her. You know?
Yeah, she's not lead material by any means. I couldn't agree more. Oh my God, when we talk about Captain Marvel, you and I are going to be agreeing all over the place.
I mean, like there's things within the movie that I like. Like I
didn't at all.
But I mean, there's not a lot, but there's things I do enjoy.
I mean, they even
she's not one of them. She's not one of them. Like I think the best moments that she did have in the movie is when she was with Monica. You know, and that
Monica was the best character in that movie. Period.
You know, I think
we'll talk about.
You know, I think that was like because her best moments in the movie, and those weren't a whole lot. So that tells you like and that's not a lot because it's like the bar is already. You know, when I say that, I'm not saying like, you know, it's great.
Okay. Showcast says, much like how people are trashing Boba Fett with stupid, non-detailed reasons. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed Book of Boba Fett for what it was. I felt like it was more of a Star Wars thing than a Boba Fett thing, but it was still pretty good. I enjoyed it.
I liked it. Okay, so I liked the whole flashback stuff. I liked all that. I didn't really care for it. Was it episode 4? I think it was episode 4 I didn't really like. And then in the finale, there were things that I just felt like things were a little bit rushed. And I didn't overall think the finale was strong at times, but so it's hard for me. I like, cause there were, and then I didn't like how like he goes through all that and just in the end to be like, this isn't the life for me. And he's just leaving. That's what I didn't like. I didn't like that. And I didn't like how like Grogu just was like magically there. Like I know he has, you know, he has force powers and all that, but it would just seem like, here he is. Like I wanted to see him make the choice. Like if you were gonna
Grogu,
if you're gonna like make him be like maybe we'll see that in a flashback. I don't know. I just felt like him just showing up. I felt like it was just like lazy, like in the way that they did that. The way he showed up. I'm glad he was there. I just didn't like how he showed up.
We'll probably see that later on in a flashback because I think the reason they went that direction with Grogu was to give Grogu a greater character arc later on. Because I think, and this is just my take, you can take it for what it is, but I think if we're talking about, the Star Wars series and what they're doing, I think what's going to happen is I think at the end of season 3 of The Mandalorian, I think The Mandalorian is going to die and Grogu is going to go back to Luke Skywalker in a similar way in which, remember how in, A New Hope, when Luke's family was killed and he goes back to Obi-Wan Kenobi and says, there's nothing for me here. I want to go with you and learn the ways of the Force. This is what I think is essentially going to happen with Grogu. He's going to go with the Mandalorian. He's going to, because he's attached. He has that attachment to the Mandalorian, but Mandalorian's gonna get killed, and then it's gonna.
I don't think that he's gonna die until we get to because I think Mando is so big, because I know that they're building to something, to whatever that conclusion is.
Yeah, they're building a whole essentially like cinematic universe on Disney Plus with all these
I don't think
TV shows.
I think that if he bows out, I think it'll be closer to the conclusion. Like I think it would be too. Because I think he will be so like helpful in that final battle that I don't think he's going to die that soon.
Okay. Yeah, that was. But I was just giving my take. Batdan 530 says, so ZodWriter, did you hear Mikey Sutton heard that Riddler beats Battinson in hand-to-hand combat?
I don't believe that.
It wouldn't surprise me, but again, the guy does have a trash bag over his body, so it's hard to say.
I don't believe it. I don't believe that. Like, I don't believe it.
Let's see here. We got Ashley reads it all. Yes, that's great. That's the perfect thing. Showcast says nearly everyone's camera's been off since the pandemic.
No, I've had my camera. I usually go on, like if you check my channel out, my camera's been on. It's usually on, but lately since I came in, but and I was gonna turn it on tonight, but then I woke up late. Yeah. So.
Well, that's the good thing about this show. This show is kind of like a podcast, so it's not necessarily necessary to always be on cam. I mean, I'm pretty sure we will be on cam together eventually, but it is what it's fine.
I wake up at a good time next Friday, it will definitely be on.
Captain Marvel should never have been in the MCU. In Endgame, everything Captain Marvel did is something that either Thor or Hulk could have done. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I thought that she was more enjoyable in Endgame. And that was before her origin story was even written. I think that what the Russo brothers did with her was far better than anything that happened in her movie. But I didn't mind her in Endgame, really. I hated her stupid haircut.
I hate the fact that she exists.
I hate that wig. I hate that wig. Like, they could have got her a better wig. I thought it looked horrible. But I mean, I didn't mind her, but I mean, it could have been, she could have not, I mean, they could have done without her in the movie, really,
I agree. I didn't they say that they'd actually filmed, they filmed an ending without her, and they filmed an ending with her, and then they filmed like one in the middle, and then whatever one they chose to work with was going to be all based on her box office. I thought that's what they said. I don't know.
I know that they originally, she wasn't in it, and then they brought her into it. So that was my from conception, she wasn't going to be in it.
Right, but then her movie made like $1 billion, so they were like, okay.
But she had to be in Endgame though, because the whole reason they made her movie, and all to set, her movie, like, because they hinted it in Infinity War, so she was always going to be in Endgame.
Yeah.
Because Nick Fury reaches out to her, like in the post credit scene. So she was always going to be in the movie. It just depended on how much she might have been in it. Like they would have left some of it on the cutting room floor, but she was always in the plan to be in it once they decided that they were going to introduce her character.
Okay, and Integrity 101 wants to know, what's the next movie you guys are doing?
Oh, excuse me, I yawned. Sorry. So rude. Let's think of one. I'm trying to think. Which movie should we do next? What do y'all think?
Well, Snyder Steppenwolf says, Zod, you should pick a movie that you and Widow completely disagree on for a stream.
How you feel about Infinity War?
Infinity War is not a movie I think we'll completely disagree on. But
what about Endgame?
Endgame. I guess it would give me a chance to rewatch it because I haven't watched Endgame since I saw it.
Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, okay. Okay, we could do Thor Ragnarok because I absolutely hate that movie and you absolutely love that movie. So we'll do Thor Ragnarok. You picked a good one. We'll do that one. So that'll be it next week. Thor Ragnarok. Ashley loves it. I hate it. We'll talk about it. It'll be a fun one for me.
It's not.
I can't stand it. I hate the movie
Thor,
so much. Oh God, I hate it so much.
But visually, it looks like a live comic book, though. You can't say it doesn't look like.
Well, that's what we'll talk about next week. Because again, one thing I got to remind people that when we talk about these movies, we're talking about these movies from the perspective of comic book readers.
And that's also from a visual standpoint as well,
right?
Too.
And we're not exactly reviewing the movie per se. We're just talking about it from the perspective of a comic book reader. So yeah. We'll do Thor Ragnarok next week because I've already got to concede because Ashley's right about it looking like a comic book. It definitely does.
And then we can do Shazam very soon because
oh, that's another one. Oh my God.
Wow. Oh, you don't like it either, do you?
Oh my God, I hate it so much.
Okay, so we'll agree on that.
Rhea was like, "Happy Friday, y'all!"
Hi, Miss Rhea. I get to go hang out with her next week.
Oh yeah, what you guys gonna do? You're jumping on one of her streams?
Yeah, we're gonna. What's Monday's Valentine's Day, right? I don't even know what day is Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day is Monday. Yes, it is.
Yes, Monday. I'll be hanging with Miss Rhea.
What you gonna talk
Monday? Dating horror stories.
Awesome! Oh my God, that's gonna be fun. I'll definitely tune in for that one. That's definitely awesome. Oh my God! As only Rhea can do. Rhea does some great streams.
Yes,
Rhea is awesome. Yes. Never liked Linda becoming Captain Marvel. I'm old school. She always will be Miss Marvel to me. Nick Fury losing his eye in that film was stupid and made him look foolish.
I didn't like the reason why. Yeah, I didn't like the Avengers being named after her either. That was it pissed me off.
Oh, and Snyder Steppenwolf. The Snyder fan. I don't know why I said Snyder Steppenwolf. I must have been thinking of Snyder Steppenwolf. The Snyder fan 99 says I didn't like the Ragnarok either. Thor Ragnarok. Yeah. I'm gonna. I feel bad now because now I've literally only seen Thor Ragnarok one time because I hated it so much. I am definitely gonna have to go back and rewatch it now because I have to have it fresh in my mind to be able to talk to you about it on the comic book level that we're going to talk about it. At some point, they wanted to have Captain Marvel in the end. When the newbies, Age of Ultron, when the newbies were assembling and Widow and Cap were going to whip them into shape, Carol was supposed to be there. Wanda was,
it wouldn't have made sense because she wasn't through the whole film, so they scrapped that whole idea of just bringing her in the end. But yeah, she was. I mean, they had you could see like the pictures where the stand-in was supposed to be and everything.
Oh my God, is this going to be a fun show next week or what? Integrity 101 says Thor Ragnarok was the Batman and Robin 97 of the modern superhero films, in my opinion.
Y'all are haters.
Wow. Hey, this is going to be, it's
not so Batman and Robin 97. That's just like, it's just, nah. I don't agree.
Oh God, Ashley. Hopefully you like ZodWriter's favorite movie, Wonder Woman 84. That is not my favorite movie. Stop saying that.
I hate that.
I hate Wonder Woman 84 with a passion. I hate Wonder Woman 84 even more than I hate Thor Ragnarok. What are you talking about?
The fact that you hate Thor Ragnarok is crazy to me.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to rewatch it now. Totally, like you guys are, and the
She's more
irony.
popular now because she's more popular. Wanda's more popular now.
Yeah,
Okay,
because of WandaVision.
she started becoming more popular in Infinity War. Her popularity started to gain, but before, no, she was not more popular than Black Widow. Black Widow's dead anyway, so I mean, but especially WandaVision, kind of an Endgame, like the end of that little moment you have with her in Endgame. But I mean, Wanda is now my favorite MCU character. So
Your favorite MCU character?
right now, because out of all, like, yeah, right now, because Natasha's gone, Tony's gone. Like Tony, I mean, Tony was my and Natasha were my favorites, and they're gone.
Yeah,
And Wanda is amazing.
I can know why. I can understand why you like Wanda because they really did a good job fleshing out Wanda.
She's
But
a
for her
sad
to be your
girl.
absolute favorite character, wow,
Power
that's a
scaling.
interesting.
Why? She's gonna wait till you in Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. You'll see why she's my favorite.
See, and that's what I'm thinking. Now that's going to also be another fun movie for us to do when that comes out,
She
because
is. She's
I
gonna
think we're
be.
going to see so much. We're going to
I
see
think she
so
might
much
kill
from
Wong.
Marvel.
I
You
think she
think
might
so?
kill Wong. I don't know. I have to see more of the trailers, but just from the one that teaser that we saw, and it makes sense. Like, how will Doctor Strange become the Sorcerer Supreme?
Yeah.
Eventually, um, I think that I think that she might kill him or do
Mm.
something to him to the point where he's severely just not able to do anything for a while.
Here's a question I got for you for Multiverse of Madness. Do you think they might have the I don't know what you would call it, but do you think that they might actually kill off Doctor Strange?
No, I think if anybody's gonna die, I think if anything, Wanda would die. But I still don't think she's gonna die. If anybody's gonna die, it's gonna be Wanda. Like, of the two of them, it would be Wanda. Like, in
Yeah.
the end, like her realizing the error of her ways and sacrificing herself and her
Yeah.
dying. But I hope she doesn't die. But I don't think he's gonna die.
I don't know, because they ruined Black Widow and Captain Marvel. No one liked, and they were main characters in MCU compared to Wanda, and
Black Widow
Wanda
wasn't
is the most.
ruined. Black Widow's a good movie, so I don't
Oh
subscribe to
man,
that.
that's another one we're gonna vehemently disagree on because I hated the Black Widow movie. I hated that movie so much. It felt to me like it was just a big infomercial for the Hawkeye TV show. uh,
No, we don't get any inkling of Hawkeye until the post credit scene. I think that it was a nothing burger in the sense that it doesn't progress the overarching plot, but as a
I
film, I
can
think it
agree
was a
with
good
that. I
film.
can agree with that. That it doesn't progress anything. You're right.
But
That's
but from in from the acting from her and Yelena, I think it was spot on. I mean, I don't think it's a perfect movie, but I think it's a good movie. I don't think I like I when some people that I know said, it's a top tier MCU film. It's not top tier, but it's good.
uh, what what with Trash Master and that Joker Ed Guardy in the film was trash. Uh, what cameos do you guys want to see in Multiverse of Madness?
See, I don't want to see a whole lot. It's weird. Outside of like Illuminati, built off like past like maybe, MCU characters and maybe a few mutants here and I don't want to see a whole lot because I just because I don't want to see like I don't really want Tom Cruise to be Iron Man. I don't want that. I don't want him to be superior. I don't want to see it. Like, if it happens, cool, but I don't want that. I would like to see what's the actor from Fantastic Four, from the Fantastic Four movies? Ian, you know who I'm talking about?
The one who played Mr. Fantastic?
Yeah, I would like to see him. I would like to
Okay.
see Deadpool. Yeah, I do want to see Deadpool. I don't think Wolverine's going to be in there. And I just don't. I don't believe Wolverine's going to be in the movie. And the only version that people want to see in a multiverse film really is, Hugh Jackman. And I don't see it. I don't see it. I think that we'll see Charles.
Patrick Stewart?
Yeah, I think that from rumblings we might see either Toby or Andrew, uh, just because the success of No Way Home, and I know that they were after that they did a few more reshoots to add a few characters in. I would like to see Black Bolt. I would like to see, even though I'm not big on what's his name, Vin Diesel. I would like to see him as Black Bolt. Um, I don't want John Krasinski to be Mr. Fantastic. Like I'm like, I guess I have the most unpopular opinion when it comes to that. I don't think he's a right fit for the character.
Marcus Cruz would definitely disagree with you there. He's been campaigning for that guy to be Mr.
I don't.
Fantastic.
I don't think that. I don't think that John Krasinski can give me off the most intelligent man in the universe vibes.
Who do you think would be a good cast for Mr. Fantastic?
I would rather see, what's his name, Levitt. I would rather see him.
The guy from the other Fantastic Four movies?
I would like to see him I'd like to see him come back as a variant. But what's his name? I can't think of his name. Gordon-Levitt. What's his first name?
Oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph. I think that he would have to I think he would be a better Mr. Fantastic than John Krasinski.
Now, do you want Mr. Fantastic to be older, or do you want him to be a younger guy? Because, depending on the age of Mr. Fantastic, that could, determine where they take the character.
Late 30s, early 40s, and he's the same age as John Krasinski.
Yeah,
like the one that everybody's campaigning. He's not like a 20-year-old kid.
Right.
He's in his
right.
That
was the mistake they made 40s. With the last Fantastic Four that they tried to do by casting Miles Teller as Mr. Fantastic. That just
I don't want to see a young. I don't want to see a young Mr. Fantastic.
Tom Cruise as Mr. Fantastic.
I know that he would be different, but I still don't want to see it. I think I don't want to see a variant version of Captain America either yet.
Who would be the variant of Captain America?
John Krasinski would be better suited for that.
Okay. I see where you're going now. I'm like trying to picture all of these actors that you're thinking about here. But
I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt. If you're going to give people fan service and him come in, John Krasinski is a variant, because that's the rumor that he's not even, that he's going to be a variant, but not necessarily the main. I think he's going to be. I think it's happening though, because if John Krasinski wants the job, he'll have the job, because Marvel lately has been very good at listening to their fans. They listened when everybody wanted Haley Steinfeld to play Kate Bishop, which was great casting, though I agree with that one. And people are being so vocal about him being the part. So I feel like if he wants it, he's got the job. Because after the 2019 at Comic-Con, when Feige was like, yeah, and I haven't even got to Fantastic Four, John Krasinski and his wife had a meeting with Marvel execs.
And this is a good point here. John Krasinski was almost Captain
Yeah, he
America
was.
anyway. He was literally putting on the suit when he backed out.
Well, he like saw Chris Hemsworth and he was like, I don't have the body. And he was not as bulked up there. I mean, he could have worked out and got, the definition and the muscle. But at that time, he was a little bit more lanky,
Yeah.
because he was he was like in the office. But I think that now, like, for him to come and be a variant of Captain America will work, but that's not what they're going to do. They're going to do, Haley Atwell is a Captain Britain variant. I know she's in the movie.
From
like,
What If?
Yeah,
They're gonna.
yeah, like she is definitely coming back.
What If gave us a preview of some of the variants that we'll likely see in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, and we're seeing Strange Supreme. He's definitely there. So we know he's there. I would love to see a live action version of the Watcher.
Oh, me too. And it's gotta be Jeffrey Wright.
Oh yeah, I think that if it was, it's who it is. Like, it's like there's been rumblings like there's character that nobody's really talked about who could be in this movie, and I think it could possibly be him and Ryan Reynolds. I would love to see Ryan Reynolds in Multiverse of Madness.
Of course, as Deadpool.
Oh yeah, because he's gonna be Deadpool. I would love to see him come into the movie.
I need to get Agent Carter on Blu-ray or DVD.
You have Disney Plus, right, Gippy? You have Disney Plus, Gippy? It's on Disney Plus. It was. I don't, unless they took it off. It was on Disney Plus. Because it's on Disney Plus. I didn't get through it all. Because I thought it was like going to be like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's a better show than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it only had the 2 seasons. Wow. But it's Josh Hartnett's in it, and I know he's in the 2nd season, I think, or was he in the 1st? I don't know, but it only had in the 2 seasons.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess just to wrap up on the movie that we were talking about today, because we kind of went off in a Marvel perspective here, but for Batman Begins, I guess. It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? When we started talking about Batman Begins, I don't even want to go back to it. I'm kind of just like, well,
good movie though. It came out a lifetime ago too,
Yeah. Batman Begins. Let's just say it is what it is.
Great origin film.
Next week we'll be talking about Thor Ragnarok. So that's
Yes, it's a good movie.
Gippy answers and says, I do have Disney Plus. I haven't looked for it. I'll have to check it out. I still want to get it, though, to add it to my collection.
Yeah, no, I know. I don't blame you. But if you just wanted to, watch it, you can watch it. You can watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, we were talking about Batman Begins, but it's something we somehow
we were wrapping up and talking about the next thing, and then we got on to
because we were talking about the Batman, and then we kind of got into Multiverse of Madness. So next week is again Thor Ragnarok. It should be a good one because this is a movie that
everybody loves.
Everybody loves except me. So it should be a fun. So it should be a fun show. I want to thank everybody for being here and for watching our show. Please like, share, subscribe. Subscribe to me if you haven't already, and definitely subscribe to The Widow so that we can get Ashley to 1,000 subscribers as quickly as possible. And so just in case you didn't hear us say it like 5 times already, we're talking about Thor Ragnarok next week. So that should be cool. Too bad you didn't compare Batman Begins with Iron Man and debate which had the greater impact. I would have to say Iron Man had the greater impact.
Yeah.
because Iron Man launched an entire cinematic universe that went on for over 10 years and is still going on, whereas Batman Begins only ushered a trilogy, and then things changed after that. So I don't
A
think
reluctant trilogy at that, because he didn't want to make
right. He didn't want to do 3. I don't even think he wanted to do 2. I think Nolan was done after the first one and wanted WB to bring in other filmmakers to continue.
I think he was happy doing the first 2. He didn't want to make the third. I have to check.
Oh yeah, without a doubt,
I have to check about the Dark Knight, but I know that they had basically twisted his arm and begged him to come, come back.
The Brinks truck full of money, just like on his lawn, like right away, like please come back, please come back. Like
we'll let you do whatever you want.
Right. It doesn't matter. You can bastardize these characters any way you wish for the future films. Come back anyway.
Speak ill will of Christopher Nolan.
I would think Iron Man had a greater impact because of him. We have the MCU. Batman Begins was just a really excellent movie. Yeah, Batman Begins just ushered in a standalone trilogy that, again, like Ashley said, was reluctant. And then, of course, Iron Man was like the linchpin.
But Batman Begins did help put the buzz on the Nolan Batman films and got people excited for The Dark Knight, which helped The Dark Knight make $1 billion and to be the first to do it.
This is a good point too. Showcase says I would say Batman Begins because it did influence other comic book movies, including Marvel.
No, totally different vibe. Iron Man, the cultural impact of that film alone is bigger than Batman Begins.
I would argue too that Iron Man has a significantly darker tone to it than a lot of the MCU films.
I mean, but there's a lot of films in the MCU that are dark. I think that people
Thor Dark World.
Thor the Dark World, even Endgame is very hyper emotional. It's not until once they get to the second half and they're in the time heist because they're excited about trying to save the world, does that become a little bit different. That's a very serious, dark film at times. Black Widow, parts of the tone of it's not, it's got very serious nature. Black Panther. Let's see, what else is there? Captain America's Winter Soldier,
And Showcast says Winter Soldier takes cues from Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. I thought Winter Soldier was definitely a standout movie. That's one of my favorite
espionage film. I don't feel like I would disagree, but respectfully, of course.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll definitely be talking about that too. Begins changed the game, though. Every film was copying Begins afterwards. Halloween, Hannibal, Amazing Spider-Man, all did darker origin films after Begins. Also, it was the first comic book movie to get a sequel that made $1 billion.
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah, that's what you said. Yeah. So, all in all, I guess we can wrap up by saying, yeah, that's Batman Begins from a comic book reader's perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I look forward to Thor Ragnarok next week. That should be fun. I definitely will rewatch that movie because I do not remember really anything from it, to tell you the truth. Just the look of it. So, yeah. By the only MCU movie that is remotely like Batman Begins is Captain America, the First Avenger, because it took fantastical and stylized concepts and set them in the real world situation, but that's a stretch. Okay,
Yeah.
well, we'll conclude on that note then, since you did mention since Gippy, you did mention Batman Begins in your comments, so we will go ahead and conclude there. I'm excited. Thank you so much, everybody, again for being here. Ashley and I will be back next Friday with another episode.
Watch it, Gippy.
Weekly Comic Book Movies, yes, and definitely watch all these movies that we talk about. Definitely watch these movies because, you know.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I think Spider-Man 2 is one of the great comic book movies. Thank you, Andrew Casale. You have the last word, okay?
No, it's not. No.
Good night, everybody.
Not even the best Spider-Man movie.
Wow. He had to